Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for April 11, 2022, the Don't Piss Off a Federal Judge edition. And we begin with that story from Reuters as 3M was bench slapped for trying to tell a multi-district litigation judge how to run her docket. This involved claims by former military around 3M's earplugs or its deficiencies, which may be the biggest consolidated litigation in U.S. history. 3M took on the federal judge for some procedural rulings she made in setting up the MDL, and the judge just went ballistic on them. I have been in front of federal judges, and you do not want to piss them off. So 3M has learned a lesson. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Mingy Sun reporting, as the Bitcoin market expands, demand for regulatory guidance grows. Increased regulatory guidance is critical to the continued growth of the cryptocurrency, but uncertainty on how the U.S. will write regs remains one of the top barriers for crypto firms looking to enter the U.S. market and for digital assets seeking to attract investors. So hopefully we will see something from the SEC or other regulators on this shortly, but it's something that really needs to happen. Next up, from the New York Times, Goldman Sachs shareholders should reject CEO David Solomon's $35 million pay package, Glass Lewis, the advisory firm, said on Friday. Goldman plans to pay Solomon $35 million for his 2021 work. The same sum paid to Morgan Stanley plans to pay to its chief, James Gorman. Glass Lewis gave Goldman a grade of C on Friday for executive compensation, saying the bank gave Solomon significantly more than peer companies and compensated its C-suite executives more generously than its counterparts. So Glass Lewis suggests that Goldman shareholders vote no. And our final story comes to us from the Times of Israel, a occasional contributor to the Daily Compliance News. Argentina's ambassador to Israel has resigned followed a corruption conviction in Argentina. Sergio Uribarri was sentenced to 8 years in prison for acts committed when he was a provincial governor, although he is still free on appeal. Nevertheless, his conviction led to his resignation, so we have a resignation in the diplomatic corps due to corruption from the political side of things. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.